You reach for your keys, and in an instant, your dog is watching you. You know the look. The ears drop, the eyes follow your every move, and a quiet question hangs in the air. Then the door closes, and the house falls silent. And in that moment, something happens inside the animal you have left behind. But what? Do they understand that you are coming back? Do they sense how long you will be gone? And when the hours stretch on, do they truly miss you the way you find yourself missing them? For a long time, we could only guess. But what science and a few unforgettable stories have begun to reveal is far more tender and far more moving than most of us ever imagined. So stay with me to the end. Let us begin. It begins the very moment you are gone. Many of us have turned back for some forgotten thing and caught a glimpse of it through the window. The dog sitting by the door you just closed, or perched on the back of the couch, watching the empty street where the car disappeared. For some animals, this waiting becomes the very center of their day. And the most famous story of waiting the world has ever known belongs to a dog named Hachiko. Every single evening, this loyal Akita would walk to a train station in Tokyo to greet his owner as he came home from work. It was their daily ritual, a small and happy reunion at the close of each day. But one afternoon, his owner did not step off the train. He had passed away, suddenly, and he was never coming home again.
And yet Hachiko returned to that station the next evening at the very same hour to wait, and he came back the evening after that. He kept returning, day after day, for 9 long years, watching every train, searching every face, hoping that this would be the day his person finally came home. Hachiko did not understand death. He understood only love and waiting. And his story moved an entire nation, because in it, people saw something they knew from their own animals, that quiet, patient, aching hope for our return. But this raises a question that has puzzled us for as long as we have lived alongside animals. When we are gone, do they have any sense of how much time has passed? When you slip out for 5 minutes, and when you are away for 5 long hours, does it feel any different to them at all? For the longest time, the common wisdom held that animals live entirely in the present moment, with no real concept of time, that to a dog, 5 minutes and 5 hours were exactly the same thing. But the more closely researchers have looked, the more they have come to doubt that simple idea. In one revealing study, scientists watched carefully how dogs behaved when their owners returned after being away for different lengths of time, and what they found was striking. The dogs who had been left alone for longer greeted their owners far more intensely, with more excitement, more affection, more sheer relief than the dogs who had only been left for a short while.
In other words, on some level, they could tell. They could feel the difference between a brief absence and a long one. Time, it seems, is not entirely lost on them. They may not watch a clock the way we do, but they feel its weight, and the longer you are gone, the more that absence seems to grow inside them. So how might an animal possibly keep track of the passing hours? The answer may lie in a sense we have marveled at before, the one that shapes their entire world, their sense of smell. Think just for a moment about what happens after you leave your home. Your scent is everywhere, on the furniture, in the carpet, hanging in the very air of every room. It is strongest in the moment you walk out the door, and then, slowly, hour by hour, that scent begins to fade. Some scientists believe that this slow fading may act as a kind of clock for our dogs. When your smell is still strong and fresh, they may sense that you left only recently. But as the hours pass and your scent grows fainter and fainter, that fading may quietly tell them that you have been gone a long while, and perhaps that it is nearly time for you to come home. Your dog may quite literally be able to smell the passing of time. It is a remarkable thought, is it not? That while you are away, your faithful companion is moving through a home still filled with the trace of you, reading the slow disappearance of your scent like the hands of a clock, and waiting for the moment it grows strong again.
And it is not scent alone. Many animals also lean on the steady rhythm of the day itself, the slant of the afternoon light across the floor, the sounds of a neighborhood settling toward evening, the familiar routines that have always meant you are near. Layer upon layer, they piece together a quiet sense of when,
assembling the shape of the hours until you finally return. For most animals, this waiting is gentle, a quiet patience until we return. But for some, being left behind is far harder to bear. You may have known a dog like this, or perhaps you live with one now. The dog who paces by the door the moment you leave, who whines or barks or cannot seem to settle anywhere, who greets your return not only with joy, but with a kind of overwhelming, trembling relief. We call this separation anxiety, and at its very heart, it is not bad behavior at all. It is love, in its most anxious and vulnerable form. These animals have bonded so deeply to us that our absence causes them genuine distress. To them, we are not simply a source of food and shelter. We are safety itself. We are the steady center around which their whole world turns. And when that center suddenly vanishes behind a closing door, their world can feel, for a time, as though it is quietly coming apart. It can be heartbreaking to witness, but it also tells us something profound about the depth of what they feel for us. You cannot truly miss something, after all, unless you have first come to love it. And so, even in their distress, there is a strange and tender beauty. Their anxiety is simply the size of their love, made visible. And there is real comfort to be found in understanding this. For when we know that their distress springs from love rather than from disobedience, we can meet it with patience instead of frustration. We can leave behind a worn shirt that still carries our scent. We can make our leaving calm and our return gentle. Small kindnesses, perhaps, but to an animal counting the hours, they can mean a very great deal. Which brings us to perhaps the most fascinating question of them all. When you are gone and your home has fallen quiet, do they actually think of you? Do you appear in their minds the way that they so often appear in ours? This is one of the great mysteries of the animal heart, because we cannot simply ask them. But the clues we do have are deeply moving. We know that animals have memory, sometimes a remarkably powerful one. We know that the smell of us, the sound of our name, even a piece of our clothing left behind on a chair can visibly comfort a waiting dog. And studies of the brain have shown us something beautiful. When a dog catches the familiar scent of its own beloved person, the part of the brain that lights up is the very same part tied to reward, to anticipation, and to joy. In other words, the smell of you does not merely register as information. It feels good to them. It brings a kind of quiet happiness. So while we may never know exactly what passes through their minds in those long, still hours, it seems almost certain that we are there, somewhere, in the warm and wordless way that they remember. Not in pictures, perhaps, and not in words, but in feeling, in longing, in the simple, steady hope of you. It is not so different, really, from the way an absent loved one lives quietly in our own thoughts across an ordinary day. Not constantly and not painfully, but there all the same, a warm presence at the edge of everything, surfacing in 100 small moments until we are together once more. If this is touching your heart the way that it is touching mine, take a moment to tap that like button below. It truly helps these gentle reflections find more people who love their animals as deeply as you do. And then, at long last, comes the part of the day they have been waiting for. Because long before you ever reach the front door, many animals already know that you are coming home. Owners report it constantly. The dog who wakes from a deep sleep and trots to the window minutes before the car appears. The cat who arranges itself by the entrance just before the key turns in the lock. For a long time, this seemed almost like magic, as though they possessed some mysterious sixth sense for our return. But the truth is, in its own way, just as wonderful. Their senses are simply far sharper than our own.
They may hear the particular sound of your car engine from streets away, an engine they could pick out from 1,000 others. They may catch the distant rhythm of your footsteps, or the faint, familiar squeak of a gate, or even, as we have seen, sense from the rising freshness in the air that the hour of your return has finally drawn near. They have learned the music of your homecoming by heart. And so, in those last few moments before you arrive, the long wait gives way to something else entirely. A gathering excitement, a quiet certainty.
The wonderful knowledge that the missing piece of their world is at last about to walk back through the door. There is something deeply touching in this when you stop to consider it. For all those long hours, a part of them has been quietly listening, half asleep perhaps, or resting in a patch of warm sun, but always with one ear turned toward the world outside, waiting for the first faint signal of you. They do not merely pass the time until you come home. They keep a kind of vigil. And then you open it. If you have ever been greeted by a dog who has truly missed you, then you already know there are few things in all the world quite like it. The whole body wagging, and not just the tail, the spinning in delighted circles, the little cries and whimpers of pure, helpless joy, the desperate need to be near you, to touch you, to be certain beyond any doubt that you are truly, finally home. We sometimes laugh at how dramatic it all is.
We have only been gone an hour after all, perhaps just to the shop and back. But to them, there is nothing dramatic about it in the slightest. Their joy is simply honest. It is the full and unguarded expression of a love that has never once learned how to hide itself. And here is the truly humbling part. They greet us this way no matter who we are. We may have had the very worst day of our lives. We may feel unseen or unimportant or small in the eyes of the wider world. But to the animal waiting behind that door, we are the most important being in all of creation, and our return is the single best moment of their entire day. There is a reason that coming home to them can heal something in us, because in their eyes, we are always and unfailingly worth celebrating. Many of us spend a great part of our lives searching for that very feeling, to be met by someone whose whole face lights up at the simple sight of us, with no conditions and no reservations at all. And yet there it is, waiting just inside our own front door, offered freely every single day. It is one of the quiet gifts of sharing a life with an animal. They remind us, again and again, that we are worth coming home to. But there is one more truth here, and it is the most tender of them all. We have spoken of the small absences, the ordinary comings and goings of our days. But what happens when we are gone not for an afternoon, but forever? The stories, like that of Hachiko, are almost too much for the heart to hold. Dogs who have waited at a window for an owner who would never come. Animals who have returned to a grave again and again. Companions who have grown quiet and sorrowful, who have lost their appetite, who have wandered the empty rooms of a home in search of the one person who was missing. They grieve. They truly grieve. And grief, in the end, is simply the price of love. It is the shape that missing someone takes when the missing has no end. An animal cannot grieve for a person it never loved, and so even in that sorrow, there is something that should leave us quietly breathless. It means that we mattered to them, not merely as the one who filled the bowl, but as the very center of their world. So the next time you reach for your keys, and you see that familiar look come over your dog's gentle face, pause, just for a single moment. Know that when the door closes, you do not simply vanish from their world. You become the thing that their whole day is quietly built around, the warmth they are waiting for, the scent that slowly fades, and that they long to smell grow strong again, the sound they are listening for in every passing car. While you are gone, you are not forgotten for even a moment. You are missed, and you are loved, and you are awaited, because to the animal who has given you its heart, you are never simply a part of their life. You are the whole of it. If this has touched something in you today, then you already understand the quiet, faithful love we have been speaking of. So tell us in the comments below, does your pet have a special way of greeting you when you come home, or a little ritual of waiting that melts your heart every single time? We would truly love to hear it, and we read every single one. There is nothing more moving than this community sharing the animals who wait so patiently and who love so completely. And if you would like more gentle journeys into the hidden hearts of the animals we love, what they feel, what they remember, and what they understand about us, then subscribe and stay close, because there is so much more waiting just ahead. Thank you for being here with us today. And tonight, when you walk back through your door, let them celebrate you. To them, you are the whole world.